We are live on Hangouts, and we're just waiting for YouTube to catch up with that little tiny lag it has. There we go. All right. Oh, oops! I messed up. I've been doing this for over a year. You think I know better by now? There we go. Forgot to mute the YouTube channel. There we go. All right. Welcome live from the crossroads of America to Rick's Life as I See It. Shooting with Disabilities, a 1-hour talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. Also answer questions from you, the listener. You can either put them in the chat or send them to rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. Also, if you can't make it, the audio file is normally on Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher within 24 hours of the show and end. I have a Patreon page. It's there on my lower thirds if you're looking at the screen, but it's also printed down below on YouTube and also on, I think it's above, I can't remember what it is, on Gun Channels, which I'm broadcasting on both Gun Channels and YouTube, as always, you know. And I want to say, I sent out, I don't know if he can make it, but I sent an invitation to Dano. And I got 12 or 13 invitations out there, so it's first come, first serve. And right now, I said I've only got a couple of people in the panel right now, but I'm hoping more will join. Who we got in the room? We got Patriot was first. He's in the but he's on the panel. Then we got Two Live Moo. He said he was second because every second matters. You're absolutely right. Then we got Midnight Range. And then got David Bolin doing. He's on both Gun Channels and YouTube and on the panel. He's doing a 3-up, I guess, or I was going to say a threesome, but that sounds a bit. That's my mind going into the gutter. You know. Hey, the Pop Joy. Hey, Rick. Hey, Rick. He says that's me, Rick. Jesus Christ, I'm losing it tonight. Anyway. Before we go any further, let's introduce who's on the panel at the moment. We have David Kingpin Bolin. How you doing?
All right. Thanks for having me, Rick. Always a good time.
No problem. And we got, as I've always said in the past, we got the myth, the legend, the man, the patriot in the dark.
I think I'm falling in line with this myth thing. I'm trying to be bigger than I am. I'm not short like Ghost or anything. Well, thank you for the invite. I hope everyone had a Merry Christmas and a very good second day of Christmas, which is today, because the 12 days of Christmas is after Christmas, just for everyone to know. Not before, but it's hard to sell stuff afterwards, I guess. So.
Yeah. That's what I want to say too, Mary. I hope everybody had a good Christmas. And today is the 26th. Actually, using my British roots, today would be Boxing Day. And it's, in England, you get both days off, Christmas Day and Boxing Day. Now, I'm not saying I'm 100% correct, but Boxing Day has nothing to do with boxing, as in fighting. What it stems from, if I'm correct, it was back in the old days, when the rich people, the upper class had servants. This day would be the day that they opened their presents from the people upstairs, and that was why it was called Boxing Day, because they got their boxes from upstairs. That's what I was told, and I think I'm roughly there in the ballpark. But anybody else, I just thought I'd just throw that little bit out there.
The McKenzie brothers said it was Wrestling Day. But I think they were mistaken because they're Canadian. They're kind of backwards.
Well, yeah, they are.
But doesn't Canada have a Boxing Day as well?
Yes, it's a shopping day for them. I'm sure there's a real reason, but they use it as a sale day.
The Boxing Day up from England because it was British controlled for a long time now, and it's still part of the Commonwealth, ain't
it? They have a tendency to bend at the knee.
Yeah. So, anyway, how you doing, Dano? Good to see you.
I'm doing well. Glad to be here, Rick.
All right. So what I'm going to do right now, who we got on gun channels? We got David Betham, Ohio 45. Of course, we got Dano and David Bowen. They're both on the panel here, so we're doing good. And all right. What I was going to talk about is shooting with disabilities, but it's not only people with disabilities, normal people, what you want to call normal, do this well. I mean, as being disabled, do you do sort of like stretching and breathing exercises before you actually start shooting? Do you limber up like sort of like a football player or an athlete before you shoot? Or you just get to the range, pull your stuff out, pull the gun out, and start banging away? You know, personally, myself, I'm the guy that gets there, gets all my stuff out, and starts shooting. So I don't know if that's right or wrong, but that's how I do it. But maybe I should start limbering up. I don't know. What do you think, Patriot?
Oh, you're asking me a question. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention. I got to go stand outside the class. I was trying to quickly join over on gun channels, and my computer's lagging. So okay. I'm sorry. What was the question? I'm sorry. Do I just go to the range and just start shooting?
Before you actually go shooting, do you do sort of like stretching or breathing exercises or get yourself all limbered up like an
I do breathing exercises because I have to calm myself down, you know, because I'm usually so excited about getting to the range. I know that's not what you're talking about. Not so much, I guess. I mean, I do my, morning stuff, just waking up, kind of fall out of bed, whatever, but nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, would it make shooting better? I don't know.
I'm sure it would. I mean, you don't want to be just all cramped up and, I mean, stretching is good because you don't want to hurt anything. And it depends on what you're shooting. If you're laying prone or doing some other things, I'm sure it's gonna help you out. I mean, it can't hurt unless you do it wrong. I mean, it's good to stretch before you do anything. I mean, even I don't know. Depends on obviously your position or whatever. I'm sure.
Yeah. What do you think, Dano?
Let's see, where to start. First of all, I normally go to an outdoor range, and I say that because I'm allowed to do a lot of things that would never be allowed at an indoor range, like shoot, move, shoot again, that sort of thing. Shoot from various positions that would never be allowed at a range. And so the first thing that I normally always do is I go through some breathing drills. And also depends on whether I'm there. Am I there for short distance pistol, or am I there for do rifle things? Are they quick shots, or am I looking at a longer shot? That all depend as far as how much of this as an example, breathing and getting my breathing down under control to a regulated pace for what I'm trying to do. That it'll also vary for those same reasons as far as how much stretching do I do of my back, because I have back problems. Do I do? I will also do something all the time, and that's I will go through dry fire motions of what I plan on doing that entire day. So if I'm there to do shoot just my pistol as an example, and I have static steel targets that I bring with me to the range, and I bring them home when I'm done. But some of the range bays also have some steel targets as well, like drop plates on a rack. And is what I will do is I will do pulling from concealed and presenting the firearm to the target, and then reholstering numerous times to reduce the likelihood of accidentally shooting myself. And that may seem funny, but reholstering your gun is one of the more common times you're likely to shoot yourself, either in the thigh or in the foot. And that's why doing it dry without the intent to fire, your finger is never on the trigger. You present it on target as if you were going to shoot, but you do everything except place your finger on the trigger. You line up your sights, you do it all. You start off slow motion, like 1/4 speed. And then when you feel comfortable with that, half speed. When you feel comfortable with that, 3/4 speed, and then full speed. But all of this is dry. And then once I feel comfortable with the full speed dry, and I've done whatever stretching or breathing I feel I need to do for that day's enjoyment, I will then begin to go ahead and begin to fire. Because ammunition is not cheap. Driving, it's not. I can't get to the range for free. The range itself is not free. So I want to get the most out of my experience as I can, and by putting the odds on my side as much as I can, and taking advantage of what I'll call that last minute, dry fire from holster to presentation, to reduce the likelihood that I'll shoot myself. Because it doesn't matter how experienced somebody is, that chance is always there. The moment you think it isn't is the moment that chances have just increased that you will shoot yourself. So I am very much a supporter of dry fire at the range before you begin to actually shoot. So
that's not a bad idea, actually. Really do that. Anyway, I just want to say hi to Sean and Vanessa, who's joined us on YouTube. And Ohio 45 ACP gun channels broken here with a precision rifle. Can't talk tonight. I get into position and take 3 to 5 dry fire shots for the first round. This is to help with the code bore first shot, which is usually influenced by the person rather than the equipment. There you go. So,
hey, Rick, can I add something real quick?
Yeah.
One of the things because normally this time of year I'm always on the inside range, but on the outside range, I do some like jumping jacks, but it's not for stretching stuff. It's just to get my heart going crazy. Trying to, get the stress. You know what I mean? Where they tell you to do push-ups and stuff. I do that on the outside range. Inside I don't, because there's usually too many people. But to get my heart going a little faster.
Yeah.
So I guess that joke about being too excited wasn't real. Just on the inside.
If I could throw one more thing in there before we move on.
Yeah.
The other thing that I do, again, because I'm in an outdoor range, is I always include movement in my practicing, always. Whether I'm just simply moving to the left or to the right by a half step, or whether I'm actually turning around or actually getting down to the ground on one knee or something like that, is I will prep the practice area. And what I mean by that is, are there rocks down there that need to be moved out of the way? Is there ammunition left over on the ground or whatever that I might snag something on? Is there a barrel that, I don't think is in the way, but maybe might be better to move it further out of the way, just to reduce the chance that I will either accidentally trip, possibly trip and fall, or potentially maybe, again, all goes back having negligent discharge, let alone accidentally shooting myself in the foot. Try to put the odds as much as I can, and that's part of prepping the environment, in addition to prepping yourself.
Okay. David.
Yeah, no, I do a little bit of stretching my hands if I'm going to be basically on the handgun range all day, but for the most part, I just unpack and start blasting.
Yeah, that's my fault too. But I'm going to start doing the dry fire thing, because that really makes sense, So I mean, all this time, because I draw from the holster and stuff, so I've actually had, I guess, touch wood, that I haven't had a negligent discharge into my foot or my thigh, So it's something to really look into. I'm going to start doing that. As you said, safety, safety, safety is what it's all about. So anyway, before we move on, I just want to. Sean said my mic was sounding low. Is that better now? I adjusted the volume.
It sounded okay to me.
To me too, but I personally think it's Sean's equipment. So. Oh, he says it's good now. Okay. All right. And Blind Shooter has joined us. Now, did you hear the original question?
No, sorry, Rick. I was late. I was too busy playing with my brand new Mini 14.
Okay. Now, the question was, do you sort of like do stretching or breathing exercises before you actually start shooting, or dry fire practice, as Dano has been saying? You know?
Unfortunately, no, because of the way the ranges are set up here in New York. You're only given a 1 hour time frame, and they're pretty strict to that 1 hour. So any form of stretching you do kind of takes up your range time. So for me, it's mostly pay the fee, get in the port, unpack, and start blasting.
Yeah, well, I know exactly what you mean. I started shooting in an indoor range up in Rhode Island before I got into the outdoor range. So I totally understand. I mean, I know what they're like. It was $25 an hour, and you didn't want to waste any time, that hour doing anything else but shooting.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, plus you weren't allowed to draw from the holster there anyway either.
You can only draw from holster here if you're law enforcement.
Yeah. Well,
But you can also do yours.
Now, like I used to, I was concealed carrying. So part of their rule at that indoor range was I had to tell the range master, tell him or show him, look, I got a concealed carry weapon here, because you want to know why I had a holster on. I said I'm more likely we'll pull it out to practice with this gun because it's my concealed carry gun. And as long as he knew, he was happy with it, But I couldn't actually draw and fire from it. So yeah, so I think dry fire practice is what we need to do. Even in an indoor range, you need to at least take 2 or 3 shots dry firing to make sure you got your thing, that gives you a chance to calm down too.
And there are things you can do at an indoor range which may be obvious, may not be so obvious, other than just hold the gun and shoot if it's a revolver, your 6 rounds, or if you're semi-auto, your 10 or 15 or whatever you happen to have at the paper target, and then retrieve the target and put a new one out there. There are other things you can do such as, and of course, it all depends on the house rules and if you have an active range safety officer or not. But I'll give you an example of one, and that's simply to set your firearm, on the stand in front of you. You have your target already out there. Is you pick it up and you fire 2-3 times, and you always change the number of times because you don't want a training scar from just shooting it once and looking at your target. And then you set it back down. You check, and then and only then do you check your target. Then you pick it back up again. You vary the round count, but you shoot maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times, and then you set the gun back down, and then you check out, and only then your actual how well you did. Granted, that's not great, but it's better than nothing, sort of a thing.
Oh yeah, I totally understand. Midnight Range TM, using his full name here, because I can't believe you asked the blind guy if he stretches before he shoots. That's pretty racist.
The other thing is you can always stretch before you go.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. Oh, I got to get up to the line, then I can do it. You can look silly in the parking lot, or whatever. They got a restroom there. You probably go do some jumping jacks. The thing with the jumping jacks, though, is just to elevate your heart rate, because that's that stress thing and moving. Indoor ranges we can't move very much. There's usually too many people standing behind me trying to see the blind guy shoot. Because they think it's so cool or something. But I can't move because there's too many people standing behind me.
Yeah, I get the exact same thing, Patriot. Everyone's pretty amazed, hey, there's a blind guy here shooting. What the fuck?
Usually, at most indoor ranges I've ever been to, there's a room outside the actual range that you can do what I'll call the stretching and the breathing. Maybe not the gymnastics part, but at least the breathing and the stretching part.
Yeah, the prep room or something. They got like a little table.
Yeah, it could even just be a wide hallway.
Yeah.
Where you can set your stuff down and do your stretching for a minute or so.
Yeah, they're not going to look at you funny. I mean, if they do, who cares? You already paid.
Yeah. Hey, Rich Wright just joined us. Good to see you. Yeah. Okay, moving on to the next topic that I got. It's sort of basically what Dano was talking about a little bit. Being, like me, my besides having the bad back, I also have a bad left hand. I am left-handed. I write with my left hand. I do everything with my left hand. You know, when I played golf, I golfed left-handed. I played baseball left-handed, catch. You know what I'm saying?
You're dedicated lefty.
You know, but when I had my work-related accident, what originally started everything going wrong in my body was when I fell over and I smashed my left wrist up, and it got operated on. And I don't know if it shows on the camera. I got some big dents in there where they operated. And actually, when they first operated, it was beautiful. I had a real thin line down there. It looked kind of cool. But you see the dimples. And then what happened was, cut a long story short, is when they were putting some of the tendons all back together inside, you know, they sewed them up with that thread that's meant to dissolve after a while. Well, unfortunately, it didn't. And I had sort of like big boils on my hands, or almost they look like boils, and they had to cut them out. And when they opened them up, there was little tiny bits of thread in there, and that's where the dimples come from. So, anyway, as it turned out, I've only got 75% use of my left hand, so I had to learn to shoot with my right hand. Now, you know, as I said, holding the 45, I had no problem. Holding it in my left hand, you know, when you hold too long, you start shaking. But if I hold a gun in my left hand, it shakes automatically from the very get-go. So where I'm going with this is that, is there any specific drills that you use to that would help you, sort of like in a defensive situation? If you had to, I mean, what I'm thinking of, if somehow I can't use my right hand, I've got to go back to using my left hand, you know? And so I do practice shooting with my left hand, trying to get it stronger than what it is. You know, I do that for a little while when I'm shooting too, because you never know when you might need that left hand. In my case, or in your guys, it might be, well, it would be left hand with you guys unless you're left-handed, you know? So, anybody got any input on that? Are you wandering around again, Patriot, or are you there?
I resemble that remark. Yeah, I try to shoot any way I can. You know, I mean, I do, you know, single hand, we can. The only thing that I can't really, I guess, you are talking about just switching hands because of issues with it, or practicing something that's not easy? Was that the question? I'm sorry.
What was that?
What was the exact question? I'm sorry.
Is there any particular drills you use, you know, that you would use because of your disability? That we want, like, your defensive situation. I know with you, they got to be close up on you.
Yeah, the only thing that I wish I could train more indoors that I can outdoors is more of a low shot, as far as, you know, shooting, you know, pulling from the holster and having it, you know, I guess waist height, you know, more of a, you know, a shoot from the hip, but the angles, you know, a higher angle, you know, is one of the shots that I dry fire with a lot. You know, at home I do that. I haven't live fired a lot of that because of obviously issues, and you know, it would be shooting over the berm and all sorts of, you know, issues. But in a self-defense, you know, if somebody's on top of me, you know, I'm not going to shoot horizontal. I'm going to be shooting, you know, in an upward direction, so that it's whatever. Anyway, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
So on the indoor, the tables are a little high for that. I don't want to be one of those guys that shoot and hit the stuff you're not supposed to hit. So I haven't done it, but I do dry fire and I practice, you know, that, you know, at home.
Okay. Oh,
maybe that answers something.
Midnight goes, Rick is left-handed. That's his disability. Yeah, it could be, you know. But anyway,
hey, I resemble that remark.
You left-handed, Dana?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So,
Is everybody on the panel left-handed?
so
Nope.
is there
No, I'm normal.
anything or like you practice that you would do that would help you in defensive? You know, if you were being, if you happen to get into a shooting, somebody attacked you or whatever.
Are you asking someone in particular?
What was that?
Are you asking somebody in particular? I don't want to.
Oh no, I was talking to you, Dano.
Yes. First is in a self-defense scenario, the most likely, if you are shot, the most likely place you will be shot is in the hands, because the vast majority of people who do present a firearm in self-defense hold it two-handed. So one of or both of your hands are going to feel the impact of a bullet if you are indeed shot. So in that case, assuming that one of the two hands is still semi-functional, you should always put some time aside to practice one-handed shooting with both hands, as well as, and this you might need this you could practice at home with just a couple of dummy rounds. But if you have a semi-auto or a revolver, is reloading with just one hand. And there are techniques to do that, whether it's using your holster in an unconventional way as a pistol holder with a revolver, actually the cylinder actually slid to the side and get it out. I don't want to go into all the details other than those are things that should be practiced, because if you are shot, you are most likely to get shot in the hands. Therefore, practice with both on their own, and then practice how to reload regardless of what you shoot, either a revolver or a semi-auto, one-handed. And yes, it is possible.
Yeah, I mean, even like with the semi-auto, you should be able to learn how to slip in a new mag one-handed.
Well as rack the slide.
Yes.
And that's using parts of things that are that you wear to rack it off of.
Yes. Yeah, all that needs practicing. I mean,
well, you have to know how to do it first, and then you have to practice it enough to be competent.
Yes, and of course, as back to safety, do it, while you're learning it, do it, dry fire.
Right, and that's what I mentioned with dummy rounds.
Yeah. Oh, Ghost Tacticals joined us in the chat in the YouTube. Ashley J. Who else is out there? Anybody else I see? No. Oh, Midnight said something about, is the whole panel left-handed? So, David, you're next.
When I hold a handgun out, I'm pretty steady with it. I basically shoot with two hands. With my right hand, I can hold it pretty steady. And with my left hand, I can hold it pretty steady. But I can't hold a rifle steady for nothing. And what I do is I take barbells. Like, I've got some, what are they, 10-pound barbells in my room, and just hold them out in front of with my arms stretched out to try to keep from shaking. Because I can't stand up and shoot a rifle worth a lick. And then as far as handguns, with my left hand, like if I make a fist and then I stretch all my fingers back out, whichever finger's between the pinky and the middle finger, I don't know what you call that one, it gets stuck. So I have to manually move it to straighten it up again. So recently I've been practicing a lot more with my left hand to get used to dealing with that knuckle getting stuck. But other than that, that's about it.
Okay. But anyway, are you right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed. I'm normal.
Okay. Blind shooter.
Yes, sir.
Would you practice anything sort of like if you were in a defensive situation? No?
I mean, it depends on the situation. I mean, right now, my home defense gun is a 357 Magnum, so even if, it's the guys on top of me and, it's pretty much coming hand-to-hand blows, if the bullet doesn't hit him, I'll at least set the bastard on fire, so...
Yeah, good point. Good point. But do you try shooting with both hands?
Actually, I forget the proper term for it, but I can shoot pistol with right hand, but when it comes to rifle, I'm left-handed.
Oh, okay. That's another thing. But back to where I've said I'm left-handed on everything. Even I can shoot a handgun right-handed because I've learned to do it. But shooting a long gun, I'm left. It goes up to my left shoulder every time. I mean, I don't even know how to get it up to my right shoulder. It don't, I don't even know how to hold it. So I don't know. But I mean, one thing good about me going to my right hand is even though I'm totally left-handed on everything, I'm actually right eye dominant. So it's made it easier. But a habit I've got to break, and it's a tough one, is when I was instead of moving my left hand, instead of moving my gun over for it's more in line with my right eye, I used to cock my head this way, sideways, so I could see my sight. So I'm learning to do it. So what happens when I'm doing right-handed, I have a habit of doing that. So I got to learn to keep my head going straight and looking down that sight. I don't know, So there we go. I practice dry firing all the time when I'm watching TV in the living room.
There's something I've recently started doing as far as the weekend draw, because that just the way I was used to carrying, obviously I carry it. Well, now I carry a little bit behind 3 o'clock. Depends on the holster, what I'm doing that day. But to practice actually, pulling out of a holster if my right hand is damaged or missing or whatever, hanging onto a train, I got to be able to do that. And I had never really thought about it. It never really came up until some chats a while back. And so I've been, putting more effort into thinking about that because, my arm doesn't reach all the way around. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Dano had a question, but he said he'd be back in 2 minutes, so we're waiting for him to come back to ask his question. So, all right. What was the other thing I was going to talk about was, besides that now, today, I think I mentioned this before, because of my main reason I'm disabled is because of my back, my severe spinal stenosis. They want to operate on me so bad. Even this new doctor said, should I make it a referral to a surgeon for you? I said, no. I said, when I'm ready, I'll let you know. Because because I brought my records from Rhode Island when I gave them to the doctor, and he's flipping through them, and he must have come across it. What I was told is my spine is so narrow that every nerve is being pinched, and that's why I'm in constant pain. And it's not only that, plus then on top of that, I got arthritis really bad, in the shoulders, the hips. I don't have it in my left hip right now because I got a brand new one. But, but anyway, I was going to go with this. Today I walked down to the mailbox and back. I took my cane with me, but I didn't use it. By the time I got back to the door, my back was killing me. See, now maybe I use the cane because I can sort of for some reason it eases the weight on my back. So when I'm now, here's the next thing. When I'm shooting, right, I can stand and shoot, no problem. But if say I'm now that because of my new hip, I don't need my electric cart so much. Say I'm walking across the parking lot at Walmart, I'm using a cane in my right hand. Because it was my left hip that was bad. And that's why I had it. Maybe I should swap over to the right, because what would happen if I was attacked, I would have to let go of the cane, then draw the gun. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's something that I deal with, because obviously I use a white cane. I don't have a dog. Being totally blind, I do use a white cane. And around my house, I practice with both hands. And I've done that since I used the cane, just for the reason I'd like to, it was a kind of a funny joke that I could use both hands, whatever. And it is an issue because I mean, even normal, normal whatever, they carry a grocery bag. Normally, you're carrying whatever you're carrying with your strong hand. I mean, that's why it's your strong hand, right? So practicing the thing, and especially having a cane, I mean, with the long cane, being a blind guy, that it's an issue anyways in itself, in a defense situation. I mean, if it's a one piece fiberglass cane, or it's like my carbon fiber fold collapsible, there's different things with those that it kind of leads to the other self-defense items, I guess, is some people carry knives and spray and flashlights, whatever. And so that's another consideration as far as where things are located. And definitely the cane issue has came up, and it's something that I think about because I mean, if I'm out walking to a job site or whatever, there's that's usually where people are going to see it because they see a nice white cane that's obviously sticks out, and they say, oh, this guy can't see me jump him or take his stuff, which so.
Okay, before we carry on, before I lose it in the chat's really lively tonight. Midnight Range has a question. Now I haven't read it, so I hope it's not some joking ones. Okay, question to the blind guys.
Oh God.
Would it be smart to wear electronic muffs in a home defense situation so they will muffle the shot? Because if you shoot and lose hearing, you're down another sense.
That is a loaded question, pun intended. I do have electronic muffs on my headboard, kind of hidden. I'm single, I can do that. But that was one of the there's a lot to that question. That's why there's caliber choices are one of the things that I lean towards, because in any situation, being totally blind, if I fire, I have the risk of, you shoot, even a baby 9, they're really loud, and sighted people lose hearing, and it's not an issue. In a self-defense in home, you're firing inside a room, so that's even worse. So yes, I do have, the electric muffs there, and you can hear, turn it up so you can hear stuff far away, whatever. But one of the other ideas behind that is using a smaller caliber that won't damage your ears as much. So, and then there's a lot of people like, oh, you can't use a little thing. And I'm not talking 22, 32 ACP, center fire stuff. Because you can get, CZs that hold a whole bunch of rounds. Now, there's a lot to it. So that could be a whole show talking about that. But as far as me, I do have them just because, I either have a 380 or a 45 for the bedside. And so that they're loud enough that it would be damaging. If I have the minute I could throw it on, it would be great. So, okay, your turn. Tag, you're it.
Gizzard Gary is joining the room, so just want to say hi to him. All right, next is Blind Shooter. You got an answer to that one?
Yeah, I personally, I own a pair of the electronic ear muffs, just for, shooting purposes at the range, but I don't have them, in the home for, self-defense purposes, only because, I mean, whoever's breaking into the house isn't going to wait for you to put on your earmuffs so you can attack them. It's, split second, bang, go for it. So if someone breaks into the house and, I don't hit them on the first shot, or, with my revolver being a 7-shot, I mean, I'm prepared to fight like the third monkey on the rim to Noah's Ark, so.
All right. All right, now, real quick before we move on, Dano had a question.
Did David have an opportunity to answer the past question?
He's not blind.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm not blind. I just.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
I've lost track.
Well, I do want to throw
I'm
one thing
sorry.
on that topic, and Patriot mentioned it briefly, but is that in an enclosed room, a 22 short or a 22 long rifle is going to be incredibly loud without hearing protection. It's not just caliber, whether it's 389 mil or something north of that. You're going to temporarily lose some of your hearing, including that police officer that's screaming at you to drop the gun, drop the gun. So I just wanted to insert that in that conversation, that hearing is important for all people.
Yeah.
That's why what my pajamas say "good guy" on them. Before I go to sleep, before the bad guys come, I wear my good guy reflective T-shirt, and homeowner is written on the back of it. So.
All right. I do have a serious question, although it may be a dumbass question, but it's not intended to be. It's just my simple ignorance, and I wear that badge with pride. It's something I don't know anything about. But for you guys who are visually impaired, regardless of to what degree, how do you verify what is behind your target that you may be shooting at?
Patriot, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm in a single residence home, right? So it's just my house, and it's just me and my kid 50% of the time, and I know my house, that kind of thing. I know what directions, and just the way my layout is, anybody that comes in is not coming in towards another house. I guess that's the easiest way. So even if it went through the wall, a window, I have, it's clear that direction. Because otherwise, unless they're Spider-Man, they're not.
Do you only carry in the home?
Oh no.
Okay, well, because it applies.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, for hand, yeah. That's the thing. I'm not going to fire it unless I have hands on, because that's part of that triangle, right? I know their intent. They have crossed that line, and they're assaulting me. So I'm not shooting across the parking lot. I'm not shooting across the mall. I'm not shooting 20 ninjas. It's going to be they're on me, and they don't know I have a firearm because I'm just a blind guy, because blind guys don't shoot. So
okay, so anything greater than the distance of bad breath is a no shoot.
Yeah, basically, because otherwise, because most people, if you don't know me and you break into my house, people drive by, they know the person that lives here is blind, because I walk around, like I said, with a cane. It's white. I have a special order them. They're all white. I don't use the red stripe ones or whatever. But the passerbys, people driving down the road, I'm sure people have noticed the blind guy lives there. And so if they came in with that intent to rob me or do anything in my house, that's it's a little different inside my house, because I know my house, and if it's just me, anybody that's breaking in, they're not holding their breath, and they do have a heartbeat, and so they make noise, and that's, I don't know. I'm not. I think that's about it, maybe.
All right. How about you, blind shooter?
Yeah, pretty much it's the same for me as it is with Patriot. I'm in a single-family apartment building, and I know for a fact that to the back of me are windows, so no one's pretty much coming in through those unless they're Spider-Man. So any threat that's coming at me is going to be in front of me, and pretty much everyone knows, hey, don't do shit to Declan jokingly, because he's going to end up shooting you. He's not expecting you to do shit.
And I just like to add that includes Venom too. I'm not just sticking with Spider-Man, because I don't know if he's, whichever one you're looking at. So.
Okay. All right. So, anybody got any other questions or anything they want to talk about on the disability side?
And I would like to mention that too, as far as caliber. That kind of comes up a lot. I was supposed to make a video. Somebody asked me long time ago, a couple months. That's my long time ago, about the 9mm and stuff like that, because I do have a shield. I don't carry that just because I it's too much for what I want to do, you know. And normal people go, what? That's, it's crazy. But my situation is mine alone, you know. So I don't know. That's why I've looked at, smaller calibers. I mean, the Europeans use 32 ACP for over 100 years. I know they have thin skin, but it does work. And so I don't know.
What?
There's a caliber question that is, I mean, I have all sorts of calibers, and I love all of them. But in a self-defense situation where it's not me shooting across the room at my house, a smaller caliber that's not, that's frangible or whatever, that's not going to go through and, do any severe damage to anything beyond the bad guy, is something that needs to be thought about. I mean, as far as sighted people, obviously, you guys, think that you're gonna try to hit your target, you're gonna hit it. But what happens when it is at night? You're walking across a parking lot and somebody clubs you and drags you, or you're in a spot that is not lit up. Not all shootings are in a nice lit range. And so when people say, oh, blind people shouldn't shoot because they can't see what's behind it, there's a lot of shootings that go on that you're not able to see behind it. And if it's a life and death thing, I mean, it's, I don't know. I don't know if I'm just rambling now or not.
No, I think that's an excellent topic, because there are training classes out there specifically for sighted people, for low light, no light defensive scenarios, to teach them how dependent, number one, how dependent on light we are. I have not had the opportunity to take one of those classes at this point, but I think they're extremely important to take. So you understand what you have, as well as when it gets dark, what you don't have, and how can you compensate for that. And if you've never done it, you can't practice for it.
Yeah, I've spoke with a friend of mine. I'll say she spoke with a gentleman that runs some of the I don't know the name. It's some weird name. It's the Israeli stuff, hand-to-hand stuff. And there's a semi-local area that does some of the training.
Krav Maga.
Yes. And the whole idea of that is it's so close, and a lot of it you don't see who's attacking you from behind, or blah blah blah, whatever. Anyway, so there was some talk about that, because the gentleman was saying that is really geared for not seeing an attacker. And when our friend Ghost Tactical had Mr. Yeager on there, and I brought up, hey, would you train me? It was like, oh, whoa, I can't train you, you're blind, blah, and so that kind of throws it up at me, because a lot of people don't think of that. They don't, I'm sure he's trained in low light situations, and he's done things, and not picking on anyone in particular, but that is an issue. When people talk about training and stuff, and then they throw up ideas, and it's, a lot of that stuff carries over. And I know there's probably a good percentage out there that's never shot at dark, or shot in a low light situation, and that's something to think about, if you're sighted or, lucky to be perfectly blind like me.
Yeah. Hey, I tell you what, Patriot, you're lucky. You're lucky you don't read. I mean, because our man Midnight Range, he goes, that question about backstops. He goes, Rick, what it is, Patriot hates his neighbors, so he doesn't care about his backstop or penetration.
No, that guy, he is a stand-up guy. And if you guys don't know him out there, which you should, because he's always around, you can
Midnight, yeah,
pretty much track him down. But check him out. He's a
ball buster.
And I love it. So hey,
yeah.
But that's the thing. If you don't ask those questions, you're not going to know. That's kind of why I really appreciate the disabilities chat being on Wednesday or whatever, so that there are questions out there. Everybody's got questions. I mean, if you're not, you know, I don't know, Cyclops, you're not going to know anything about it. So, that's why we do this, is so that it's not just for disabled. There's a lot of things that the sighted people need to,
Yeah,
understand as well.
Exactly. Knowledge is power.
Unknown user just came up with a good thing in the chat there. He said muzzle flash at night is blinding for us sighted people in a low light situation.
Yep.
You know,
exactly.
What is muzzle? How do you experience muzzle flash now, Patriot? Like, is it just absolutely nothing?
I don't see it. Depending on what I'm shooting, I guess there might be some heat, but it's directed away from me because I don't shoot behind myself. But yeah, it's sound is a big thing. I mean, the big difference between being outdoors and being indoors, as far as the indoor range, it's insane. Standing in the little cubby hole with the boards, 2 foot, each side of you, and it just reverberates really bad. And then you get the smart aleck that he just bought a 500, so he can stand over there and he's laughing. He can only shoot a couple times, but it vibrates everything. Your eyeballs vibrate, and, just like anybody else. But yeah, I don't see anything of it. I'm sure blind shooter, if you have any vision, that you can possibly sense it. I don't know. You have to ask him.
I mean, like, when it comes to like the muzzle flash, I mean, I've been around guns enough years that I know like the different calibers. So 357, 500, I know when those go off and I feel the heat that, yeah, there's some sort of muzzle flash or fire to it, as opposed to, 22 or a 9, there's not really much flash coming off it. So I am fortunate enough to where, or maybe unfortunate, depending how ugly the person is, I can see a little bit of muzzle flash, but not much.
No, okay. All right. So, I mean, you see a little bit. It's not like, I mean, excuse the pun, like muzzle flash trust. I mean, it blind me. You know what I'm saying? Especially if I'm shooting it right, off of my gun, that muzzle flash would blind me for a few seconds at least.
Yeah, no, for me, it's pretty much just like, hold the pen light up to you real quick. That's all it is.
Okay, yeah. All right. That was a good answer. All right. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm trying to keep this chat to what the actual title is, Shooting with Disabilities. So we've done pretty good. We've got almost 753 now, so we're doing pretty good. So, is there anything else out there anybody's got on this?
Yeah, I mean, Rick, if you haven't covered it already in your previous chats, I'm curious what everyone's thought is on the, I don't know if it's been put into effect yet, with the medical marijuana, and if you're using that, you're not allowed to have a firearm anymore.
We've touched on it a few times, but we can bring it up again. Personally, myself, I don't use it. Be honest with you, I'm one of these weird guys. I mean, as people know, I had a drinking problem. I've been sober for 21 years. And believe it or not, growing up as a kid, I got enough enjoyment out of my booze that I never, even to this day, I've never smoked pot at all. So I'm one of these guys that say, it says the 4473 states about using marijuana, I believe. And it's still, even though your state says it's cool, the federal government says no. So do you lie on your application? I would say if you're using medical marijuana, you shouldn't be having guns, or you shouldn't be able to buy any more. Let's put it that way. If you have guns now, keep them by all means.
Well, an infringement is an infringement, whether it's what you currently have or the potential to buy. It's still an infringement.
Yeah, but
I mean, you're trying to throw the baby out with the bathwater unintentionally.
Yeah. Well, I'm trying to please everybody. I'm
how
trying
well does that normally
I'm
work?
trying to sit on the fence here, both sides. You know what I'm saying? So, what's your take on it, Patriot?
I don't know. I mean, I don't like taking aspirin, so I don't. I mean, I'll have a cocktail now, but I quit smoking. I quit drinking. You know, I was a Jack guy. I mean, it was, you know. So as far as doing stuff like that, whatever. You know, it's a law. If you don't like the law, get the law changed. You know, you can't sit down and cry about it and say, "Oh, well, that's an infringement, wham, wham, wham," and break the law. That's the difference between us and the criminals. We don't break the law. So if you don't like the law, you can't sit there and just complain about it saying shall not be infringed. You know, how many emails have you sent? How many, you know, letters have you sent? Have you stood out somewhere and talked to people? I mean, you know, there's a lot of things to do. You know, is it theoretically an infringement? Sure. But, you know, a law is a law until it's not. So.
Okay, Dano, what's your take on it?
First of all, I just want to make a side mention is it doesn't matter what state you live in. In my state, it is not allowed, and I will lose all my gun rights. You know, if I chose that path. So mine is, you know, in line with the 4473 in that regards. The other is, and I'm sure there's some exceptions, but I'm going to say something generally here. That's why I want to note there are some exceptions. That for the most part, there are plenty of alternatives to deal with your one symptomology, to not necessarily that be your only option that seems to work for you. Now, granted, it does seem to work for some people, and I'm not questioning that whatsoever. I'm just saying that's not the only option. So why go down the road of what might end up? I love my freedom. It's one of the most valuable things I have next to my life. Why would I put my freedom in potential jeopardy?
Good point. Good point. All right. Who asked the question? Was that you, David? Or was that you, Blind Shooter?
That was Blind Shooter.
I'm sorry, Rick, second.
Was that you that asked that question?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so what's your take on it, David?
I think marijuana as a medicine is a flawed idea. The vast majority of the people that are marijuana patients are just people who found a way to get high without getting arrested. And, you know, the laws are what they are. If you don't like the laws, change the laws. I mean, really, anything else I'll have to punt, because I could probably talk about this subject for 2 or 3 hours, and I don't want to just ramble on.
Yeah. Oh, I totally understand.
I guess I'll pass on the ultimate answer.
Okay. So what's your take? You asked the question. What's your take on it, Blind Shooter? Talk to me. Has Blind Shooter gone off on us?
He's muted.
Yeah, you're muted, Blind Shooter.
Well, until he comes back, I have a question for the panel.
Yeah.
And that is there anything, like for me, it's my lower spine I have major issues with, and I wear an orthopedic brace to help reduce the amount of my chronic pain that I'm in, and it enables me to enjoy firearms to a degree that I would not be able to enjoy at all without it. So my question is there something, whether it be a tool or something else that you use to help you enjoy the experience at the range?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But I want to go
back.
And what would that tool be?
Go back to the prior question on the marijuana. What that other stuff that comes in the capsules? Was it something? I can't remember the name of what it's called.
It's a derivative of marijuana. It's another chemical compound out of the same plant.
Are you talking about the CBD?
Yeah, is that what it's called?
CBD doesn't have any psychotropic properties, so you can't get high off of it. CBD is really the only thing that's actually medicine with the marijuana plant.
Oh, okay. So when they ask the question on the 4473, what's the answer?
Technically, according to the government, CBD is still classified as marijuana.
Okay, I didn't. That's what I wanted to know because I wasn't sure on that one.
Unfortunately, there have been people who have moved from one state to the next to get their kids treatment for epilepsy. CBD, like I said, is really the only medicine part of marijuana, and it's actually a very effective medicine for a couple different things. And if the parents go back to the state that they came from, they automatically become felons for giving their kids drugs. So, you know, according to the federal government and most local governments, CBD is still marijuana.
Yeah, so they catch you either way, pretty much.
What was that, Blind?
I said either way, the government catches you with it. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, the hour is up.
Wait, we had a question that we didn't answer yet, though.
Oh, we did?
Yeah, my device to make it possible is electronic earmuffs or the inserts, the plugs, whatever. Going to the range with normal plugs or normal ear muffs that are not electronic, it's it's just a pain. It's not enjoyable as much. I mean, unless I'm there by myself, it's not a big deal. But I enjoy the electronic muffs where I can hear, I can using the stereo muffs, I can direct where I'm shooting and all that kind of stuff. So definitely electronic muffs really make all the difference for this blind guy.
Hey, they make a difference to me too. I use electronic ones, and I turn mine right, and it blocks out all the others. It really muffs the sound, which is great. But I can hear people talking still.
Yeah, that's it. If you're wearing regular muffs and you're with somebody, that screaming back and forth and stuff, it's just, because obviously I can't read lips, so the screaming, it's just a pain. After I got my first pair, I have regular muffs, but I have them thrown in the back of the safe or thrown in a box. I don't like to carry them. I'll carry spare electronic muffs first.
Okay. All right. Any else got any stuff on that about the earmuffs?
I mean, me personally, Rick, I like using the electric earmuffs at the range. When it comes to pistol shooting, I use the Streamlight or the Crimson Trace with the green dot because I'm able to see that.
Yeah.
And I haven't gotten it yet. I mean, funding is kind of tight, but I've heard a lot of people talk about the Elcon digital scopes where you can, I guess, sync it to like an iPad or an iPhone, and you can have, I guess, someone be the spotter and tell you exactly what you're aiming at.
There's on that same note, there is a company that they make brackets for your scopes, right? So you can just get a regular scope and a bracket, and you can put your iPhone or your cell phone on there, right? They use it for hunters so that they can record their shots and their little hunting trips and all that kind of stuff. But it also comes with, I don't know if it comes with, or there's an app that basically does a tandem video capture. So your buddy can basically turn on his and Bluetooth look through your phone on his screen, and so he can say left, right, up, down, whatever. So the same kind of thing where instead of visually them standing behind and being on an offset scope, they can use that, and it's a bracket, and you can get them off Amazon, I think.
Oh,
But
sweet.
Jeff Foxworthy runs a program out of one of the Hillbilly Carolinas or one of those places down there. No, not Hillbilly, but I want to say it was the Carolinas. Um, but it's basically for disabled shooters and stuff, where they came up with this little. Basically, it's a bracket that just holds your phone.
Huh. Okay, that sounds cool.
You have to check that
No,
out.
check out that.
Two Life Moo has a question for you, Patriot. He says he's been looking for an electronic ear pro. What brand do you use?
Really, I go with. I couldn't tell you actually which ones I've decided were my favorites. I have Walkers. I have Howard Lake. I mean, they're not super expensive ones. I mean, I know people that use the Gold Pro or whatever the plugs, but them are upwards of like $400 for the earplugs, and I can't afford that as of right
That's out of
now.
my range.
Unless you guys wanna go fund me earplugs, but yeah, the Howard Lakes. I mean, they're, as long as you check and verify that they're the stereo ones. I mean, sighted people, they probably don't have an issue with it, but otherwise it's a mono. You know, you got one microphone and it's spread between both the ears. And even sighted, I think that would be a pain because you don't know exactly where it is because people use them hunting, you know, and having two microphones, you know, one each ear, you can find out directionally where the deer is or where the squirrel or, you know, whatever you are watching or whatever.
Yeah. Gizzard Gary says he likes the Howard Lee Impact Sport muffs.
Yeah, the Howard Lake. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the ones I have.
Yeah.
I have some of those, and then I want to say they were walkers or something. I don't know. I bought a couple of them for gifts too.
Two Live Moose said he had Cadwell Electronic Ear Pro, and he said they were junk.
Okay, yeah. These, I mean, it's just like anything. If you look at the reviews, some of them are good, some of them aren't as good. But you know, you just want to make sure that the decibels are right, because some of the cheaper ones they might not cut off, and then you do have some that are like the high end stuff that cuts out completely, right? Well, the ones I like, they just drop the decibels to a safe range so that you're still listening through the gunshot, because otherwise it's you know, where you're, it's just like somebody messing with your audio, you know, just basically turning it on, turning it off. You know, it's nice where it kind of ramps it down so it's at a comfortable level. You'll still hear obviously a gunshot, but it's not, you know, blasting you. But at the same time, if somebody's talking while they're shooting, you can still hear them. Right? It doesn't just totally block it out.
The Howard lights are by far the most common electronic ear pro out there, as well as they tend to be the lower priced option. Typically, you know, it's not common to find them around $50, sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more. But when I go to classes and stuff, the vast majority of people, I'm talking about greater than 90%, are wearing Howard lights.
Yeah, you can get them on Amazon, you know, and they're,
yep.
I think mine, I mean, I got them on sale. I got like $24. I mean, you know, I waste that on other stuff. So
yeah. All right, guys, it's gone 8 o'clock, but real quick before we sign off, I've only got one entry in for my quiz on Saturday, and it's for the I got 3 of them left. The America Stand Your Ground, It's Your Right baseball caps. That plus I finally dug them out. My Spotted Rick sticker.
Oh, look at that.
Avatar. So get that in the hat. And the question was, I'm going to read it to you before we go through the panel here. The question was, I mean, I'll give you the full version. In the television sci-fi Stargate SG-1, you know, there was this group of who were under the Air Force. Over the 10-year run, the first weapon they carried was the M16, which was quickly replaced by the MP5. However, the MP5 was also replaced with a rifle that soon became famous for being the weapon of Stargate SG-1. What rifle was the third and last rifle used? And I want the make and the model. Email me at Rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. And you have to, I changed the time on this because people yelled at me. You have until lunchtime, 12 o'clock Eastern, to get it to me on Saturday.
What's the name of the TV show?
Stargate SG-1. I mean, that was, I don't know how long ago that was on, you know. So
I've never even heard of it.
Before a lot of Gun Channel's members were even born, Rick.
Yeah, probably.
It was that long ago?
I know the movie was.
No, it's not that it was. I just don't watch the sci-fi stuff too much.
Okay. All right. I mean, does anybody in the panel remember when that was last showing, when it was last on?
I don't know. MacGyver wasn't old.
I thought it was in the... Hell.
Yeah, I mean they've had different versions. I'm not totally in on that, just because of
Yeah.
the Egypt spin on there. I don't really care for it.
No, I didn't watch it that often. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, if I was over my friend's house and he had it on, I'd watch it sitting there with him. But personally, I could care one way or the other. All right. Anyway, let's go through the panel here for any plugs or show stuff they want to announce or anything. We'll start with Blind Shooter.
All right, not much to announce. Thanks for having me on, Rick. Always appreciate it. If anybody in the YouTube or Gun Channels chat is watching this and wants to subscribe to me on YouTube, it's Blind Shooter. And once I hit 100 subscribers, I'm doing a giveaway. So if you're not subscribed, could you please do so?
Okay. Next is David Kingpin Bowling.
Thanks for having me, Rick. Always a pleasure. Everybody, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Rick's Life as I See It. And don't forget to tune in Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern.
Thank you. Dano.
All right. If you've never trained, you can never practice. If you've never practiced, you're just plinking. That's it.
All right. And that's very true. Patriot.
Never eat spinach with a stranger. Oh. Most of you guys are probably too young to remember that commercial, but yeah, just thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it. Shortly, I'll come out with another challenge. So if you want to be up on the challenge, just you can follow me anywhere. I'm having some issues with my uploads to Gunstreamer. I probably did it twice or something, and so I turned it off. But my automatic uploads haven't been working, so I have to solve that issue. But I'm on Gunstreamer, guntube.org, as well as YouTube. But I'm on Instagrams and the Twits over at Twitter. You can find me anywhere and sub and share, and make sure you pay attention. Them old guys walking down the street or the crazy guy with the cane. Watch your step.
That's it. All right. I want to say thank you to Gizzard Gary, Unknown User, 2 Live Moo, Midnight TM, Sean Ponery. Is that how you pronounce it? Of course, David Bowling's in the thing here. 2 Hottie. Who else did we have in there? Vanessa, Kitty. There were some other people. I know I'm missing them. So I'm trying to go back through the chat here. Ashley J was in. I know she left. Who else did we have? Oh, hell, I can't remember them all. My mind's gone dull on here, but that's okay. Then on Gun Channels, we have Ohio 45 ACP, General Relativity, Midnight Gunner. I want to say thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate it. And as always, I will be back on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern with Rick's Life as I See It. And that's just general, stuff that's gone on during the week, a recap, and just talk what's in the news, basically. So I want to thank you all for being here, and we will see you next Wednesday if I don't see you Saturday. So long, everybody.